Okay, good Tavach everyone, as we welcome in Aaron Swade and Yitzi Muller, Irving Fishbaum, Saba. We welcome in A.B. Spry, Mo Kushner, Eddie Chazan, Dr. Black, Nachman Chapler, Vincent Cohn, Yisrael Fisher from Tannersville, Stephen Holtzman, Rabbi Kranz, Gedalia Engel, Jay Nathanson, Moshe Lehman, Chaim Braun, Abe Arbach, Ilya Shutman, Moshe Jackman, Daniel Rosenberg, David Helfgott, and Kol Loshen. We are sponsored by A.B. Spry with the tefillah that all children should get into school quickly, easily, pleasantly. We learned in the Nishmas Esther Bas Yoni, Yaakov Chaim Ben Abba, Abraham Ben Shmuel HaKayim. We also want to ask everybody to please have in mind for one of our Chaver Hadaf, whose wife is overdue. She should have the baby quickly and easily. Rachel Leah Bas Shulamis, healthy mommy, healthy baby. We welcome in Sandy Grunfeld. We start this year with a Haidah to Hashem Yisbarach. I give a Haidah to Hashem Yisbarach. Today is my Hebrew birthday, Yud Beis Av, and I thank Hashem for the ability to be able to teach so many wonderful people Torah, to you, to my Zoomers, to Torah Anytime, to Kol Halashin, Facebook, digital subscribers. It's wonderful to have all of you, and I ask Hashem a tefillah that together with my Rebbetzin, I should be able to be Marbitz Torah for many, many healthy years. I'd be a skilled tzedek b'meher v'yameinu. What, baby? Thank you. We're holding 3 lines from the top of Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph. Shmat Mina, we could deduce from the fact that we said that if somebody says, if it's a get, if he dies from this sickness and he goes from one sickness to the other sickness without getting out of bed, it's a good get. That a dying man who goes from one sickness to another sickness, matanasa matana, even though we said that a dying man, if he gets better, all gifts are off. But if he goes from one sickness to another sickness and dies, then his gift is a gift. And the Gemara says, yes, that is so. Look at this. My microphone wasn't in place. So let's, but I'm telling you, Mamash, you have to check. Let's go again, 3 lines from the top of Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph, Shmat Mina. A dying man who said he's giving $100,000 to Yankel, and we know that if he gets better, the gift is off. But if he went from one sickness straight to another sickness and then died, matanasa matan, his gift is a gift. So the Gemara says, yes, that's so. A dying man that made a bequest and then went from one sickness to another sickness and died, matanasa matana. Now, we learned a halacha. Rav Huna says that if a sick person gives a get and then gets better, so the get is batal. Rabba and Rava do not hold that way. Rabba and Rava say, Rabba v'Rava lo'isvirlu hadu Rav Huna. You know why? Really, the get should be off. Because he only gave it because he thought he was dying from the sickness. And therefore, if he gets better, the get should be batal. However, we're afraid that people might make an inference that if that's the case, that if he gets better, the get is off. They might say, so the get must first be chal after he dies. And Gezeira Shema Yomru, people might infer incorrectly that yesh get la'achamisa, that there's a get after death. So the Gemara says, so really you mean to tell me that the get is really not a good get. And because of this concern, we say it is a good get. So how could that be? Really, it's not a get. And she's therefore really still an Eishes Ish. And because of a decree, we say it is a get, and Sharin and Eishes Ish La'alma, we could permit a married woman to the world. Says the Gemara, yes, the Rabbanan have the power to dissolve a marriage. Why? Because Kol the Mekadesh Adai to the Rabbanan Mekadesh. Whoever is Mekadesh does so with the intent of the Rabbanan. And therefore the Rabbanan could liquidate the marriage. So the Gemara says, I could understand that they could do that they have sweeping powers if he was Mekadesh with money. Because Bezdin has the power of Hefker, Bezdin, Hefker. So they could retroactively make his money of Kedushin not the Chosens. Amalei Ravina Ravashi Teinach the Kaddish Bekaspa. That's good where he was Mekadesh with money. But Kaddish Bebiyah Ma'ikil. But if Mekadesh with Biyah, Anisha could be Nicholas with Biyah, what could Rabbanan do to render the Biyah not a good Kedushin? Kaddish Bebiyah Ma'ikil. Says the Gemara, they could. They could make the biyah a biyas nus and not l'shem kedusha. Now, here the Gemara says something very interesting. Tan Rabbanan, Zeki teich me'ayim imati mechayli zeh. Chatzkel says this should be a get retroactive from today if he dies from this sickness. Chatzkel was ill, and he didn't want his wife to fall a yibum. So he said that it should be a get from today if he dies from this sickness. But what happened instead was he was at Surfside, and he died, Rahman al-Salan, in a cave-in. Nafal abayis alav, if the house fell on him, or he kishay nachash, or he's bitten by a snake, and a get. That's not a good get. Because he said if he died from the sickness, he didn't die from the sickness. He died because the house caved in on him, Rahman al-Son, or he was bitten by a poisonous snake. However, if he says, if I don't recover from this sickness, the nafal of bias or yikisha nachash, and the house falls on him, or he's bitten by a snake, get. Now we could understand why that's true. Because he didn't ever recover from the sickness. So while in the first case, he said if he dies from the sickness, he didn't die from the sickness. But in the second case, he said if I recover from the sickness, and because the house caved in on him and the snake bit him, he never recovered. So that would be the svara. However, the Gemara doesn't like the svara. The Gemara says, Maishna Reisha, Maishna Sefer. What's the difference? The first version and the second version. The second version also, he didn't have in mind it should be a get from a snake bite. He didn't have in mind it should be a get from cave-in. He had in mind only it should be a get from the sickness. So, Nigma, indeed, they sent from Eretz Yisrael, Sholchem Itam, if such a person who said if it should be a get if he dies from the sickness was Achalu Ari, if he was eaten by a lion, we cannot assume that the get is a good get. So now let's see a similar case. How gavra de zavan ara lechavre. What happened is Nachman sold a land to Dr. Block. And Nachman accepted that if any problems occur in the land, he should be responsible. L'saif apiko banar. At the end, you wouldn't believe what happened. At the end, the government diverted the river into that land, and the land got swamped. So also the Kamei de Ravina, Nachman came to Ravina and said, am I mechuyev to make it up for Dr. Block? Amalei, so Ravina told Nachman, yes, zil shafilei, go make it good. Do Kabila Salach, you accept it upon yourself, Kol Unsa the Misyalit. Any mishap that might happen. However, Rav Acha bar Tachlifa didn't agree with this. I think it's very hot in here, no? Amalei Rav Acha bar Tachlifa l'Ravina, that the government should divert the river on the land, that's not something that's normal, and that's not something that Nachman accepted upon himself. So the matter rolled around for further opinion, and it reached, of course, the great Rava. So Rava agreed and said, that's not a normal einus, and therefore Nachman is not mechuyev. So Ravina asked Rava, Eisvei Ravina l'Rava. We learned imloy emoid mechayli. He said, if I don't recover from this sickness, v'nafal alav bayis or yekisha nachash, and a house fell on him, or he was bitten by a snake, how is a get? So you see, we take into account even something far-fetched. Amalei Rava says, but there was a steer in that price. The Reish, it says, if he said, if I get up from this, if I die from this sickness, and the house fell on him, or he was bitten by a snake, it's not a get. Says the Gemara, Amalei Rav Achmed Difta Ravina, so Rav Achmed Difta said to Ravina, Mishum de Kasha Reisha Seifa, because there's a Kasha and Reisha in the Seifa, Lo Yimai Svinon to Yuftamine, we don't ask a Kasha from it. Amalei, yes, came in the Kasha Reisha Seifa, since it's contradictory and it makes no sense. Lo Yitmar Bei Midrash, it wasn't properly said in the study hall, Mishabeshtehi, and this teaching is an error, so you can't ask a question from it. Indeed, this is the ruling like Rava. We always pass like Rava, he was a Basra. Indeed, this is the ruling, as the Gemara says in the next case. An interesting case. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. L'shem alav malka, l'chaim, everybody. Listen to the following case. Rav Papa and Rav Huna B'rei Rav Yeshua Zovin Shum Shemei Agida Dinar Malka. Rav Papa and Rav Huna, the son of Rav Yeshua, bought sesame, a large amount of sesame, on one side of the banks of Nar Malka. Ogur Malche, they hired sailors la'avarinu, to cross Nar Malka and bring it to them. And Kabilu alayu, the sailors accepted upon themselves, kol unto de misyalad. They accepted on themselves any accident that might happen. They assured Rav Papa and Rav Huna B'rei Rav Yeshua that they would get to them their sesame. L'saif is staker Nar Malka. At the end, the government put a dam in Nar Malka. With a dam there, it was uncrossable. Amalahu, so Rav Huna, Rav Yeshua, and Rav Papa told them, look, Aguru Chamre, get donkey drivers, and bring it all the way around the river, and Afkinu Nihalan, and bring it to us. You accepted upon yourself any eventual mishap. No, you can't bring it by water, so now bring it by donkey. So also the Kamei Rava, they came before Rava, and Rava said to them, and this is an interesting phrase, Amalu kake chivre, you white geese. He referred to that because they had white beards. In other words, you old men, mishalche glime de inche, you're trying to strip people of their clothing. In other words, you're taking away money illegally. Although they accepted an einus, that's an einus de shchicha. But building a dam across the river is unsadolei shchiachu, is not a normal einus, and therefore as sailors you cannot ask them to hire donkeys and bring it around. Okay, just getting underway and already a quarter finished. That's really nice. Just getting underway on this beautiful Matzi Shabbos Nachamu. It's interesting that everybody asked the question. We talked about it for the Shabbos table as Chanan. everybody asked the question, what's the Shabbos Nachama? We still don't have the Beis HaMikdash. What's the Nachama? We still don't have the Beis HaMikdash. We still don't have Nesachim. We weren't drinking wine because we didn't have Nesachim. We weren't eating meat because we don't have Basar Kachim. We still don't have Basar Kachim. So for the Shabbos table, I gave the idea that if we got the message of the 3 weeks, and we're going to start really hoping for the Mashiach and having Kavanah in Al Kei Nekava and having Kavanah in Rachem Noah and benching and Kiddush Shvascha Kivinu Kol Hayom, if we got the message about Sinas Chinam and we're ready to bury the hatchet with people, so now that's the Nechama. All over the world, people are making new commitments. Then it's sure to help bring the Mashiach. Rabbi Ephraim Goldberg of Boca said the Nechama is that we have Shabbos. That's why it's called Shabbos Nachma. We have Shabbos with its possibilities of closeness to Hashem. Rabbi Daniel Gladstein said the Nechama is that we have Torah. That's why this is Shabbos of Aseret HaDibros. And the Torah is our Nechama. Ein lanu shir rak ha-Torah hazos. So Baruch Hashem, Rabbi said, we have each other to learning Torah. We start off with Shabbos. The Welt is running around. Motzi Shabbos Nachamu. And Baruch Hashem, we have our entertainment. Ein simcha ke simchas ha-Torah. Now, if Chatzkel said to Sarah, "Harizeh get mati michayli," it should be a get if I die from this sickness, and he gives her the get. She's not allowed to be alone with him, except with Aiden. Why? So one reason is because if he dies from this sickness, then retroactively they weren't married. And as an unmarried woman, she's not allowed to be together with him. It's yichud. But she could be together with him with witnesses, or afilu al pi eved, or even together with a servant, afilu al pi shivcha, or a maid servant, except for her own shivcha. Chutz mishivchasa. Why? That doesn't stop her from doing anything. Mipnei sheliba gaspa b'shivchasa, because she's very bold with her shivcha. Now, if he said, "Here's your get if I die from this sickness," Mahi ba'oisen hayamim. What is she during those days? So Rabbi Yehuda says he didn't die yet, and therefore ke'eshes ish lekol dvareh. She's like a married woman in all areas, and therefore if somebody else sleeps with her b'shoigeg, they would have to bring a chatas. Rabbi Yossi says no. Rabbi Yossi says, as Rashi says, the case is where he says, here's your get that should be given at the last moment of my life. However, we never know when he would die, that it might be the last moment of his life. And therefore, if somebody sleeps with him, if somebody sleeps with her, they're chayiv and ashim tolav. Yaisi Aimer Migareshes Me'ena Migareshes. We'll talk more about that. We'll have a bunch of opinions in the Gemara. But now the Gemara says, remember, if he gives a conditional get and then he sleeps with her afterwards, it could be that he's sleeping with her l'shem kedushin. And then even though there was a conditional get and he dies from the sickness, that sleeping would be construed as a new marriage, and then they would need another get. So now the Gemara talks as follows. Tan Rabbana. If they saw that she was alone with him in the dark, or she slept under the bed together with him, we don't have to be concerned that they were intimate and that it was a new marriage. Ein choishishin shemanis aska b'davaracha, that they had, davaracha means they had relations. However, if we see that they were together, we say that it was just a lustful encounter, but not a new marriage intent. Now, what's going on? First we say, we don't say that we're worried that they had relations. Then we say it's promiscuous and not a marriage. What my karma? So now the Gemara is going to tell us three different versions of what this means. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Avua, Hachi Kama. Ru'ua shenivala, if we saw them actually intimate, then then we are concerned that maybe it was with a new marital intent, and therefore it obviates the conditional get, and they'll need another get. However, if after he was with her, he gave her money, nasan laksafim, no, then that's like an esnan. He was just paying her for the pleasure. And we don't say, Damrinan be'esnan nasan, like gave her for having a good time. We don't say that it was for Kedushin. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, we are concerned maybe it was Kedushin, and the money was given as a gift. Now, in Masechta, in Perek HaZorek, there's Machlokes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel with somebody who divorces his wife, and then he sleeps with her in an inn. And Beis Hillel says if he slept with her after the divorce, you need another get. And Rabbi Yochanan explains that it's only if they saw them intimate. So Kaman Ozla Hada Amar Rabba Babachana Rabbi Yochanan Makloichis Kishiruad Shenevala. It's only if we saw them intimate. Avaloi Ru'u Shenevala, if we didn't see them intimate, Divrei Akol Ein Tzrichem and a get. There's no need for a get. Says the Gemara, Kaman Kedivrei Akol, that's going according to everyone. Because over here we said, if we saw them in the darkness, we're not concerned that they were together. On the other hand, if we saw them without money passing hands, everybody says we're concerned that it might be a new Kedushin. So therefore, Rabbi Yochanan's din, explaining Beis Hillel, would be going according to the Tanakama and according to Rabbi Yehuda. However, Abaye doesn't like this whole pshat. Abaye says, where does it say anything over here in the teaching? It says, it doesn't say anything about giving money. Does it say anything over here about giving money? If we saw them intimate, we just say that they were having a nice time. He's, after all, he's sick. They are husband and wife. That they're just having a nice time. It's not a new Kabbalah's Kedushin. Rabbi Yehuda. So then, when Rabbi Yochanan says, according to Beis Hillel, it's when they slept together. When the woman that got a get slept in the inn, Beis Hillel says she needs another get when they slept together. But if they didn't see them sleeping together, so come on, who is it going? Like it has to be only going like Rabbi Yehuda. Because according to the Tanakama, even when we saw them together, we don't say that it's L'Shem Kedusha. So Maskeh Rava says, even this pshat doesn't fit in the language. Maskeh Rava imkein my af. If it's talking about where we see them intimate, so the Tanakama says it's nus, and Rabbi Yehuda says it's Kedushin. But what do you mean af Kedushin? It's only in this case where they're intimate. What's the lashon of af? Ela Amar Rava Hachi Kama. This is the Machlokes Tanakam and Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanakama says that if we saw them intimate, we don't assume that it's l'shem kedusha. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, not only do we assume if they're intimate that it's l'shem kedusha and another get would be needed, af lo re'ua shenivala. Even if we don't see them intimate, we just see them in the dark, chayshishim mishum kedusha. Oh, now we're going to see that this doesn't work. The din of Rabbi Yochanan about Beis Hillel in the case of the woman that got divorced and then was alone with her husband in an inn, that if they had bia, she needs to get a get. Kaman also had Amar Rabbi Babachana Rabbi Yochanan machlokes kishrua shenivala aval lo yirua shenivala. But if we don't see them intimate, divra kol ein tzurich and a get, says the Gemara, commando like echad. It's not going according to either of them. It's not going according to the Tanakam, because the Tanakam says even when they're intimate, we don't say that we say it's l'shem kedusha. And it's not going according to Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, because according to Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, even when they weren't intimate, we just saw them in the dark, we still have to be choshesh that maybe it's l'kedusha. Now we said in the Mishnah, Mahi ba'oisan hayamim. What is she during those days? What is she during those days? Rabbi Yehuda Aimer ke'eshes ish lekol dvareha. He said, here's your get if he dies from this sickness. So during all that time, she's like a married woman. Rabbi Yossi Aimer megureshes ve'ein gureshes. Now says the Gemara Tana, that which we say, it's like she's divorced, or belvad sheyamas. If he dies from the sickness, says the Gemara, but when he dies, it is a get. But wait a second, then that means that the get is kal after he dies. But kaimel there ain't get la'achamisa. There's no get after death. Amar Rabba ba'aymer, it's talking about where he said me'ez shani ba'olam. He said that if he dies from the sickness, the get should be chal the last moment that he's in the world. However, it's the opinion of Rabbi Yossi that since at any moment it might be the last moment in the world, so if somebody sleeps with her, they have to bring an ashim tali, because it was a suffix whether it would be the last moment in the world, and therefore the get would be a good get. And then in that case, she was not a married woman. On the other hand, if he doesn't, then she is a married woman. So therefore, any moment is a suffix, and he has to bring an ashim tali. Now we're going to pause here a moment.